Hey, welcome everyone. I'd like to start off by apologizing for some of the poor lighting or echo sound that you may be hearing. I'm working on the unfinished side of my shop. This is the side that my two-post hoist is in. I'm working towards getting the building finished, but anyways, doesn't matter. Today in the shop, we're diagnosing a 2002 Toyota Camry. This thing's got around 338,000 miles on it, which is kind of unheard of. It's kind of a unicorn here in Wisconsin. Usually these cars are pretty rotted away by the time they reach 200, 220, 240. They're usually rotten by then. This thing's actually in really good shape, all things considered. Now today we're diagnosing a P0420 catalyst low efficiency code on bank 1. Because this is the 4-cylinder 2.4 liter, we're only dealing with a single bank, but we do actually have two catalytic converters on this car. We have the manifold cat, which comes as this full assembly catalytic converter, and then down lower in the exhaust system we actually have another smaller catalytic converter. But just note that the only cat that's being monitored by our O2 sensors is this front cat. So we have an air-fuel ratio sensor mounted right in the top of the collector here, and then just below the cat we have a traditional oxygen sensor. There's two sensors on this vehicle. We do not have a third sensor monitoring that post-catalytic converter on here. This is a California emissions vehicle. Not that it really matters, it just mostly matters for when we actually order the parts. The diag is pretty much the same. So first things first, I noticed a exhaust noise on the way in. It sounded like noisy exhaust. So let's go ahead and fire this thing up. See if you guys can hear it. So I'm not sure if you guys could hear that exhaust noise or not when this thing fired up, but we got to look at that first. Because in the event of an exhaust leak prior to our downstream O2 sensor, we could throw off our readings and cause this problem. So it's not unheard of to have a rusted out pipe or maybe a bad gasket or something, especially on a car of this high of mileage. So what is the easiest way to find this exhaust leak? Well, I prefer to do the test with my shop vac. So get out the shop vac and hook the hose into the outlet side, the exhaust side of the shop vac, which is going to give us pressure. And then as you can see here, I hook it up into the tailpipe of the car. Now I prefer to do this cold because as that metal warms up, it expands. We'll go ahead and flip on the shop vac, and I got a bottle of soapy water here. This is just like dish soap in here and water mixed up. And what we're trying to do is create bubbles when we spray it on the exhaust. So flip the shop vac on and just start spraying. And again, I like to do this cold because I like to be able to see, well, first of all, I don't want the soapy water to evaporate immediately. And then also our metal is smaller, it's shrunk compared to when it's hot. And it actually expands out then, which could actually stop the leak. So keep spraying it down on top. There's really nothing here that's causing any bubbles. Let's head underneath and see. So with the car up in the air, we start to spray the exhaust down. And nothing on the gasket seal between the catalytic converter and the downpipe. Let's go a little further, spray this flex pipe, and there we go. We have an obvious leak at our flex pipe. Now that is post or after our O2 sensor, so that oxygen intrusion that's coming in there isn't actually going to affect our reading. So that's what's actually happening here, guys. The P0420 code is telling us that we have a cat low efficiency code. It's using the downstream oxygen sensor to judge the health. Basically what's happening is the sensor is being more active than it really should be over a certain period of time. That's basically the only code definition that we have. Over a test amount of time, whatever that is, the sensor is more active than it should be. Typically post-cat O2 sensors are a relative flat line unless we run the engine rich or lean or go into fuel cut decel or wide open throttle type of thing. Typically those sensors should remain pretty steady, pretty flat line. And if you have a traditional front O2, rear O2 car, you could actually watch them and see if they compare. Now we're dealing with an air-fuel ratio sensor in the front, so it's a little bit harder to do. But exhaust leak wise, we have our air leak after our measurement device, so we're going to be okay. It's not going to be causing our problem on here. So what do you do next? Well, next we have to actually see if the cat is working, and the only way to get a catalytic converter working is to get it hot. It has to be hot in order to do its chemical magic that happens inside there using the rhodium, platinum, and palladium that's actually kind of scrubbing our exhaust gas. It has to be hot in order for that chemical reaction to work. So let's go ahead and get the engine up to operating temp and see what it's doing. All right, so with our vehicle up to its operating temperature, we want to kind of take a real nice close look at our bank 1 sensor 2, our post-cat sensor. And what we're looking for is that relatively steady straight line. Now we're only at idle. Let's go ahead and simulate a cruise. I'm going to go ahead and bump this thing up to about 2,000 RPM and see what we can see. All right, so that's about 2,000 RPM. We're seeing a pretty significant amount of switching in there. Very similar to a sensor 1 sensor. Which tells me our cat's not really doing its job. But there's one thing, I kind of want to check that sensor's operation really quick, make sure that it properly responds to rich and lean conditions. So what I'm going to do, pull a vacuum hose to simulate a lean condition. That sensor should go full lean right around the 100 millivolt mark. Actually, this is going even lower. Short-term trims respond, great. And then we should see it swing. There we go. Short-term trim should again respond. Beautiful. So we're able to see the full spectrum of the voltage range for the sensor, meaning we can get as low can be and we can get as high can be. Our sensor appears to be functioning properly. So at this point, I believe that's evidence enough to go ahead and install a new catalytic converter into here. We'll take a look at how the old one looks once it gets off. So I'm going to go ahead and start pulling this thing apart. All right, here we go. Flame on. All right, so that should be all the bolts. Did anybody else notice in that time lapse there that 338,000 mile car and I didn't break any bolts? I'm gonna have to buy a lottery ticket tonight. I did have to torch 2 of them to get them loose, but wow, no broken bolts. So this thing is still really hot. Get it out of here. Yeah, I don't want to touch this. Maybe grab some welding gloves. All right, so the cat is still very warm. Obviously, you could have waited until it cools. That's up to you. I chose to take it out when it's hot. I'll get you guys a close-up picture here of the honeycomb inside, but it is all intact. I don't see any broken pieces. I see a little bit of some residue stuff on there, but nothing too serious looking. No rattle to it. Nothing at all. All right, so once the new one gets here, I'm going to go ahead and throw it all back together. I'm going to clean up the gasket surfaces on both the lower pipe and the cylinder head, throw some new gaskets in there, throw the new cat in there. Again, it's California certified emissions, California emissions on this vehicle. So I'll get that cat installed and get it all buttoned back up, and then I'll do some follow-up testing with you guys. So just hang on one second. All right, so as you can see, the new catalytic converter's installed. I still have to put all the shields and everything on there, but holding this guy at 2,000 RPM with the vehicle up to temp, nice flat line on our cat. Much different looking than it did before. So I like to see that. That is a beautiful looking line for our rear O2. Go ahead and shut this thing off. All right, so I'm gonna get this thing all finished up, get it all buttoned up under here, get the shields all back on, and I'm gonna clear out the codes and take this thing for a test drive and make sure that it actually passes its cat monitor. So I will be right back. Well, all right guys, just got back from the test drive and we have all the appropriate monitors complete and a good old state of Wisconsin pass on that emissions report. So we are good to go. This car is all fixed up, so gonna get it back to the customer now. So thank you guys for watching. If you liked what you saw, if you learned something in this video, whatever, give us that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Little bell icon, click on that so that way you get notifications for the next video that we launch. So again, I really appreciate you guys being there. Thank you for watching today. And as always, happy wrenching everyone. Thank you.